Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tamura from IHS. I will be serving as the moderator for Session 1 with the theme of the future of the international climate change regime. In this session, as was suggested by Professor Asuka during his framing presentation, and also in your program as is written, so if you could please refer to the resume, we would like to take up, roughly speaking, 5 issues. Firstly, the assessment of the Durban Agreement. I would like to hear your assessments, your take. And secondly, what should be the future the climate regime and the framework to be discussed under the Durban Platform ad hoc working group. And thirdly, what should be the market mechanisms as well as the period from 2013 to 2020. And fourthly, how to enhance the ambition levels. And fifthly, how to respond to the various risks and so forth. Now let me introduce the panelists for this session. In the order of their seating, right next to me is Mr. Mohamed Ahsan, Coordinator of Climate Change Unit of Ministry of Environment Forest from Bangladesh.
And ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure on my part to be here today to share with this most distinguished audience Bangladesh visions, future of climate change, regime and environment issues towards COP18, Rio Plus 20. But first of all, I should introduce myself that actually I am not an expert of climate change issues. I do not know why the organizers have chosen me. I'm basically a civil servant, and for the last 6 months, I have been deputed in the Ministry of Environment and Forest, and now I'm acting as the coordinator of the climate change unit of the Ministry of Environment and Forest. So I'm also learning. I also try to hear from you, but when I will speak on this issue and on the future climate regime, I will keep my country in my side, as because I feel that the climate change issues are not same in all over the world. We are the most vulnerable countries in the world as far as climate change are concerned. So please, I can bother you. Sometimes you may be bored to hear again and again Bangladesh and Bangladesh. But I'm sorry, I cannot ignore my country first, as because the very crying need I feel from here in Bangladesh. So it is okay now. Okay, please.
Sorry. 続きまして、
それではどうぞ。
Mr. Selwyn Hart, First Secretary of Permanent Mission to Barbados to the United Nations. Mr. Hart has been an expert in the civil level rise of Barbados, and he chairs the AOSIS of the small island nations in the area. He's a chief negotiator representing the island nations.
Just make
Thank you.
brief self-introduction, please. Introduction.
I will try. Good afternoon to all. It's certainly a pleasure to be here to share the perspective of the small island developing states. It is a very unique perspective, a perspective that is shared by many other developing countries, as my colleague from Bangladesh said. For us, a sense of urgency, a high degree of ambition is necessary to address climate change. For us, climate change is a survival issue. Many of the island states are already planning for worst-case scenarios, such as relocation. We're already experiencing many of the severe and adverse impacts of climate change. So the role that we have played and will continue to play in the international negotiations is to call for a high degree of urgency and ambition, and we hope that perspective will be shared by others. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。続きまして。
Thank you very much. The next speaker is from the South Africa, Mr. Alfred Wells, Chief Negotiator, representing Department of Environmental Affairs.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, all. Maybe I need to address myself as a representative of South Africa to what Durban achieved or did not achieve. I think that some have asked the question, was Durban a success or was it a disappointment? And as pointed out, it depends on what your expectations were. If there was an expectation that Durban would produce a high level of ambition in a legal treaty that would have mitigation and adaptation in order to limit the global temperature to 2 degrees Celsius, then if you expected all of that from Durban, then Durban may be regarded as a disappointment. But if your expectation was to map out in the longer term what the climate change system would deliver and the process to get there, then Durban was a success. So it depends on what your expectation was. Maybe just to point out, Durban in essence achieved 3 things. The first thing that we decided in Durban is what we need to do on climate change in terms of concrete action on the ground now, between now and 2020. And that includes the Green Fund, it includes the adaptation framework and committee, it includes the technology network and center and network, it includes long-term finance process, it includes loss and damage work program, and many other decisions. So decisions that of what's needed to do now. The second was that it includes what needs to be done in the future, beyond 2020. And what's very important, that in Durban we agreed to a second commitment period under Kyoto, which provides a multilateral rules-based reference for the development of a future climate change regime. But at the same time in Durban, we recognized that there needs to be an increase in ambition now. We need to address the concerns of urgency. We need to address the concerns of meeting the global goal that we agreed to in Cancun of limiting temperature increase to below 2 degrees. And so we agreed that there would be a process now to increase ambition. So Durban was a delicate balancing act where we needed to meet the expectations of all. From our perspective, we think that we have a very successful platform which provides a foundation, we hope, for a successful Rio Plus 20 conference in June this year, where we address broader issues, climate change being one subset of the broader sustainable development agenda. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。 続きまして、西村
Thank you very much. I would now like to call upon Ambassador Nishimura, the Senior Fellow of JIIA. He was former Ambassador for Global Environment of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He has also been the advisor to the Cabinet Office in charge of global environment. Thank you for the kind introduction. Amongst the panelists, I'm the only one that not the active member of the government. I have already retired from the government. It does not mean that the wisdom has been bestowed on me because I'm retired from the government. But I believe I am well aware of the difficulty of this question, of this issue. But at the same time, I am also convinced that there are possible solutions, especially this is the feeling I have after I have actually retired from being a negotiator myself. So with that feeling, I am participating in this debate. Thank you. I hope that I will be able to borrow the wisdom later on. Now, last but not least, I would like to ask Ambassador Joe Tyndall, the Climate Change Ambassador from Environment Division of Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade of New Zealand.
Thank you, and I am delighted to be here today and appreciate the opportunity to participate in this symposium. When you give negotiators the microphone, they like to speak and can speak at some length. I was just going to say hello now and wait for you to kick the discussion off by asking questions. But I'm very happy, now that I have the microphone, to make some initial comments, if you would like. I represent New Zealand. I'm the head of New Zealand's delegation to the UNFCCC, a job I have been doing for the last 18 months. New Zealand is a small, in global terms, a very small contributor to climate change. I think our emissions account for 0.2% of global greenhouse gas emissions. But nonetheless, we are a developed country. We take our climate change responsibilities very, very seriously. We, a couple of years ago, introduced an emissions trading scheme domestically as a key policy tool to help us to mitigate climate change and to meet the commitments that we had taken under the Kyoto Protocol. I'll come back and make some comments later about our assessment of the outcome of COP17. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。では、
Thank you very much. Let's proceed to the first subject, how you assess the Durban COP17. As indicated in the framing presentation, and as mentioned by His Excellency Mr. Atiyah, the evaluation of COP17 would differ person by person, position by position, perspective by perspective. We are represented not only by developed nations, but by developing nations and emerging or least developed nations or small island countries in the mix of what we refer to generally as developing countries. So we have diverse representation, and this is a good opportunity to think about the various assessments on COP17 from a variety of backgrounds. So what's your take on COP17? How do you assess it?